I'm very proud of my dad. He's incredibly dedicated to the city of Newport Beach. He's dedicated to bettering the city however he can. And he's so hardworking. I've always respected that about him in, his career as a principal. But he's just so hardworking and compassionate about what he does and about the city that he loves so much, especially Balboa Island. I always felt loved. I always felt supported. He was very encouraging of me, very positive, but realistic at the same time. And, just always somebody that I could turn to for support or if I needed some guidance or advice. I feel like I hit the dad jackpot there. He's a great guy. He really is. I don't see him as a serious guy. He's always had a super playful, funny side with me and would always, in a loving way, tease with me, say things like, I'm going to go take a shower. And he'd say, don't get wet, things like that. He's playful. He's funny. But he's direct. He's very direct and he's very honest. And to be honest, that isn't always the easiest thing to hear, but it's necessary to hear that. And his intentions are good. And I, have always known that about my dad, how much I'm loved and how much he cares about me. So the directness, I think, has really helped me to become the person that I am today because he's so honest with me. A lot of people really do appreciate his honesty and his straightforward approach. He taught me how to have a good work ethic, how to work hard, how to put your all, your heart and your soul into your work, and how to really care about the work that you're doing too. And my dad is a people-oriented person, and being in the field of education, he was very passionate about kids. He had great relationships with the parents, and it really inspired me. And I did originally want to get into education as well, but then I realized that my passion is in the one-on-one opportunity to help someone. And he really encouraged me to pursue that. For quite some time in my career, I worked for other clinics or insurance companies as a therapist. And a few years back, I decided that I wanted to start my own private practice and really reach as many people right here in our community as I possibly can. And he was super supportive of that and encouraged me to get involved with the Chamber of Commerce, which has been a great connection. We had a really fun ribbon cutting ceremony here when we first opened. So he very much encouraged me to lean into the community to get the information out there about the services that I provide to people of Newport Beach and surrounding areas. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist here in the city of Newport Beach, and I will say that the pandemic has been especially hard on our community and people at large, and I've seen the adolescent age group really struggling during this time. And being that it is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month, this is an important issue that we need to take a look at. Even if your day-to-day life hasn't changed that much, or you've been able to adjust to working from home, or you've figured out the online schooling and the way that it works, there is this constant backdrop of the pandemic that we're all dealing with that's affected us on multiple levels. The biggest thing to me is the amount of loss that we've faced. And I think most people don't realize that even something as simple as meeting a friend for coffee, or not being able to travel to see a parent or a loved one, or, the stressors of things that we used to do every day that we didn't realize really reduced stress for us or made us feel, good about our lives. Those are gone. And so we're all experiencing a lot of grief. And not only that, but this underlying invisible fear or threat against our lives and our livelihood. We don't know if we're going to get the virus. If we get it, how bad is it going to be? How's it going to affect us? Will we pass it on to someone else? And that's a really scary feeling to live with on a daily basis. And a lot of times it's in the background. It's not in the forefront. For some people it is. But because of that, our body and our brain are in constant survival mode. And when we're in survival mode, we feel a little bit more tired. Our tolerance for stress drops. Everything seems harder. So there's this underlying tension, pressure, grief, fear, anxiety, and depression. And that's kind of what's fueling what we're seeing in response to racial tension, elections. Everything is way more intensified during the pandemic. And it's a lot harder for us to cope, and especially if you don't recognize that. So for adolescents, the developmental stage that they're in, a couple of the important things that they're trying to accomplish would be individuation, creating a sense of identity and who they are, and also mastering social competence is important during this stage. And because of the pandemic, they've kind of been stripped of the opportunity to master those developmental tasks. Not only that, but being isolated and on their screens and, communicating through technology, those are things that contribute to depression and anxiety. So it's been especially hard for that population. They've also never experienced this level of stress. As adults, we've maybe seen some hard things happen in our personal lives or in the world. We've developed a tolerance for handling these type of things, and we've developed some coping skills, but most of our teenagers have not developed that tolerance of those coping skills yet. I think most of the parents right now are confused about how to help their kids through this. The expectations of our kids are a little bit different than they were pre-pandemic. We definitely want to acknowledge the stress that they're under and what they've lost, and maybe try to work with them to find out what will make their life feel a little bit easier and a little bit better as we go through this. We want to watch for signs of sleeping too much or sleep patterns being way off, like up all night, sleeping during the day. That can be a sign of depression. We want to watch for shifts in mood if they seem extra irritable or easily frustrated or not wanting to participate in family meals or, common activities within the family. That can definitely be a sign that they're struggling. Being on their screens too much. I know it's hard to limit it because they don't have a whole lot to do right now, but we do want to try to engage them, get them off the screen. Hey, come to the grocery store with me, or help me cook dinner, or let's play a game of Uno, and just kind of getting them away from the isolation or the screen time in their room and joining in and connecting. It probably isn't their ideal to connect with parents right now, but it's connection and they still need it. I would say kids in general differ, and then there are some differences between girls and boys. And, with their only outlet for socialization being technology and social media right now, it heightens for girls the comparison factor, feeling excluded, feeling left out, feeling different. I've heard some girls say it seems like, this group of friends is doing things and they didn't invite me, but they're not being safe. I don't really want to do it. So then there's this dilemma going on that we weren't even really faced with before. And with boys, I see a lot of increase in video game usage. And that can really, there's a lot of research out there on the damaging effects of that. That can really suck them in, and kind of become the main thing that they want to be involved in throughout the day, and we've got to be careful to monitor that. Most definitely, it's a sign of depression if they can't get away from it, if they have anger, frustration, irritability when told to get off of it, and that's when we want to intervene as parents. And intervening might be taking some drastic measures, removing technology or screen time, kind of forcing them to get in the car and go to the park and go for a walk, or go to the beach and, just get outside. But we really need to show up for our kids right now and help them learn some coping skills to get through this. And of course, it could involve professional help too. And especially for moms, it's so common for us to put everyone else before ourselves, but we're not doing a really good job of showing up for our partners or our boss or our kids if we're running on empty and we're depleted. I always recommend you fill your cup up first thing in the morning. A morning routine is so beneficial to parents, to get yourself up a little bit earlier than the kids, to do what you need to do to feel like you're starting your day off on the right foot, whether that's a guided meditation or setting some daily goals or getting a workout in or just having some quiet time to yourself with a cup of coffee, to where you feel like, okay, I took care of myself and now I am ready for everyone else and I can be there for my spouse or for my boss or for my kids. It's so important. Taking a look at your own stress and how are you doing with managing that. I experienced an increase in stress during this pandemic too. I made some adjustments to my schedule. I changed my work days so that I could feel a little bit less stressed, so that I could be there for my clients as well as being there for my family. So sometimes we have to take a look at how well am I managing stress and tackle that first. And then you're being a good role model to your kids. And then you're also better able to be present for them. In the simplest form of definition, mindfulness is awareness and acceptance of the present moment without judgment. Because when we're ruminating on or dwelling on the past, it tends to weigh us down. We can experience heaviness, regret, sadness, longing. When we're constantly trying to control or predict the future, that can cause anxiety. And so we want to learn, because most of us flip-flop back and forth between the two, and we want to try to learn to be present in the moment. Therefore, we can live more intentionally and effectively. We can show up for ourselves, we can show up for our work, our clients, our children, whoever needs us better when we're in the moment versus if we're spending time over here. So that is one of the ways that parents can help their children right now is, that meditation that I talked about, or that morning routine, taking a walk, getting your exercise in, all of that helps you to be more in the present moment. You can look up online lots of ways to learn how to be present, how to be mindful, how to do meditation, but it is a really important part of parenting because it also allows us to stop and think, what might my child be going through in this moment? If I put myself in their shoes, what might I be feeling and how can I most effectively support them and help them? It's definitely been a challenge, but it's forced us to kind of push ourselves out of our comfort zone a little bit and find a new normal in how to successfully navigate this and cope with it and be okay. And it's been difficult at times, but from the very beginning, I had a lot of sit downs with my husband and my kids talking about how everyone was feeling, what were the needs. We started implementing, I looked up in Pinterest, ways to battle boredom, and we started implementing game night. We would sit around the table every night for dinner, just looking for ways to connect and talk, and then also trying to, recreate what our routine is in the home. We also did a little bit of worst case scenario preparedness. I thought it was really important for my kids to think like I had a senior last year. So right from the beginning, we had a very real conversation of it's very possible you might not be going back to school. You might not have your prom. You might not have your graduation. And of course, that's very hard to look at. But it's very important to take a look at the realistic possibilities and come up with a plan for it. Then you can sort of tuck that plan away and hope you don't need to use it. But if you do, you will be prepared, more prepared than if you were trying to avoid looking at that. We talked through what it would look like within our home if we did get the virus, how we would navigate that, where would we isolate, what would happen with work, all that kind of stuff. I thought it was really important for us to focus on being prepared. And then we also channeled our desire to serve and our desire to help others. And because we were very fortunate to continue working and not get sick and to feel, fairly safe and comfortable during this time, it was really important to me that we give back to the community. So we looked into ways that we could do that, and we found several ways to volunteer and get involved and help in safe ways. And that was part of coping. I definitely think part of coping is helping others.